All right, so we're diving into something I think is pretty cool today, helping get you prepped for a computer hardware engineer interview.
Awesome.
You shared some really cool resources from RoleCatcher with us, career guides, and some interview materials.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of break them down and hopefully give you some good stuff so you can really crush this interview.
It's going to be great to have all these resources in front of us because it gives a glimpse into not only the role, but also what hiring managers are looking for when they use platforms like RoleCatcher.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. First
Okay.
off, uh, what exactly does a computer hardware engineer do?
Right.
The RoleCatcher Career Guide gives us a pretty good overview.
Yep.
It talks about designing and developing computer systems and components.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems pretty straightforward.
Yes, but it's more than just knowing the parts.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how those parts work together.
Okay.
Think about the whole system.
Yeah.
From the processors to the memory to the peripherals.
Okay, so it's not just about the individual pieces, but how they all work together.
Exactly.
And it mentions drafting blueprints and testing prototypes, too.
Yes.
So this is a pretty hands-on job, it seems like.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The career guide points out that this role is constantly evolving.
Oh, yeah.
Faster processors, AI, the Internet of Things.
For sure.
It's a field where you'll always be learning.
So you're not just building a career.
Right.
You're building the future.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about those interview questions, because I know that can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
The RoleCatcher Interview Guide gives us 10 common questions for this role.
Okay.
And you know what? I think walking through these is going to be the best way to get you comfortable with the kinds of things hiring managers want to hear.
I think so too.
Are you ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's tackle them.
Okay. Question number 1, and this one seems pretty basic.
Okay.
Describe your experience with computer hardware design and development. So imagine you're sitting across from the hiring manager.
Right.
They hit you with this one.
Uh-huh.
What's going through your head?
Okay.
What are they really trying to find out?
They're looking for proof that you actually know what you're talking about.
Okay.
This is your chance to showcase your practical experience and show them you've got more than just textbook knowledge.
So don't just rattle off a list of technical terms, right?
Right.
You really need to give them
Exactly.
some concrete examples.
Talk about specific projects you've worked on,
Okay.
the challenges you faced, and how you overcame them.
Okay.
And be sure to tie it all back to the skills and responsibilities outlined in the job description.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
Don't just assume they know what you're talking about.
Right.
Connect the dots for them.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, if you were the one asking this question,
Okay.
what would make someone's answer really stand out?
Someone who can not only describe their technical skills, but also their thought process
Okay.
and how they approach design challenges. Anyone can memorize facts,
Yeah.
but a great engineer can explain why they made certain decisions and what they learned from the experience.
That's a fantastic point.
Thank you.
All right, question number 2.
Okay.
How do you ensure the quality and reliability of computer hardware products?
Okay.
I'm guessing this is where your attention to detail really comes into play.
Absolutely.
So you have to really be on top of every single little thing.
This isn't just about knowing how to test a product.
Okay.
It's about having a mindset of quality throughout the entire design and development process.
I like that.
Yeah.
So mentioning specific testing methods you've used would be a good start.
Definitely.
But don't stop there.
But don't stop there.
Okay.
Talk about your understanding of industry standards,
Right.
like those from the IE or ISO.
Right.
Have you ever had to design a product to meet specific regulatory requirements?
Okay.
That kind of experience shows a deeper level of understanding.
Makes sense.
Mm.
And what about when things go wrong?
Oh.
Have you ever encountered a situation where a tiny detail caused a major problem during testing?
Oh, absolutely.
What did you learn from that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was this one time I was working on a prototype for a new networking device, and we were seeing intermittent connectivity issues.
Oh, that sounds frustrating.
It was very frustrating.
What happened?
Well, it turned out to be a faulty capacitor.
Oh, wow.
It was such a tiny component, but it was causing the whole system to behave erratically.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It taught me the importance of thorough testing and not overlooking even the smallest detail.
That's a perfect example of how even seemingly minor things can have a huge impact.
Absolutely.
And it's a great story to share in an interview because it shows you learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay, on to question 3.
Oh, okay.
How do you stay up to date with emerging hardware technologies and trends?
Okay.
I feel like this one's all about showing them You're a lifelong learner, right?
Exactly.
Because you're not just going to rest on what you already know.
The tech world moves so quickly.
Oh,
Employers want to know you're not going to get left behind.
right.
They're looking for people who are passionate about staying current and expanding their knowledge.
So reading tech blogs and articles is a given.
Yeah.
But what else can you do to demonstrate this?
Attending industry conferences and webinars is a great way to stay informed and network with other professionals.
Okay.
You can also take online courses or pursue certifications to deepen your knowledge in specific areas.
And what about personal projects?
Absolutely.
Do those count?
Personal projects are a fantastic way to learn new skills and technologies,
Okay.
and they demonstrate your initiative and passion to potential employers.
Okay, this is all great stuff.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic for a second.
Okay.
You're busy preparing for this interview. You've got all these resources.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to know where to focus your energy, right?
That's where RoleCatcher's AI features can be a real game changer.
Right. Tell me more about this AI magic.
Well, RoleCatcher actually analyzes job descriptions and identifies the key skills and experiences that employers are looking for. Oh, wow. It can then suggest specific areas to focus on in your interview prep,
Okay.
including tailoring your answers to highlight those key areas.
So it's like having a personalized study guide for your interview.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I've heard it can even give you feedback on your answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher can analyze your video recordings and provide feedback on your delivery,
Wow.
clarity,
Okay.
and even your use of technical terms.
So it really is like having a coach.
It's like having a personal interview coach right at your fingertips.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get too carried away with AI magic,
Right?
let's get back to those interview questions.
Okay.
We've got a lot more ground to cover.
Yeah.
Ready to dive back in.
Absolutely. Bring on the next question.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Describe your experience with schematic capture and PCB layout tools.
Okay.
Things are starting to get a bit more technical now.
Yeah.
But again, think about what the hiring manager is really asking.
Okay.
What do they need to know?
They want to know if you've got the hands-on skills to actually design and build hardware.
Okay.
This is your chance to showcase your proficiency with the essential tools of the trade.
So it's not enough to just list the software you've used.
Right.
You really got to give them the details.
Talk about specific projects where you use these tools,
Right.
the complexity of the designs you created,
Okay.
and any challenges you overcame. Did you have to work with tight space constraints?
Okay.
Did you optimize your design for manufacturability?
All right.
Those kinds of details really demonstrate your expertise.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of details,
Yeah.
have you ever had to troubleshoot a complex design issue using these tools?
Oh, yeah.
What was your approach?
Absolutely.
And what did you learn from that experience?
I remember one project where we were designing a high-speed communication interface, and we kept getting signal integrity issues.
Oh.
It was driving us crazy.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So how'd you finally track down the problem?
Well, I had to really dive deep into the signal analysis tools in the PCBA layout software.
Okay.
It turned out to be a subtle impedance mismatch on one of the traces.
Wow.
Yeah.
So something tiny like that can really mess things up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you had to go in and adjust things very carefully.
By carefully adjusting the trace width and spacing, I was able to resolve the issue and get the signal quality back to spec.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
It sounds like you really had to think critically and use your problem-solving skills to crack that one.
It was a tough one.
Okay, let's move on to question 5.
Okay.
How do you approach troubleshooting and problem-solving in hardware design and development?
Right.
I feel like this is a core skill for any engineer, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Being able to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it.
It's all about having a systematic approach and being able to think logically through complex issues.
Right, so it's not just about fixing things. It's about understanding the root cause of the problem
Exactly.
and coming up with a solution that's actually going to work.
And it's important to be able to articulate this process clearly in an interview.
Okay.
Think about a time when you faced a particularly challenging problem and walk the interviewer through your steps.
Okay, so you need to have a specific example in mind.
Yeah, have that example ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's also important to show that you're resourceful and know where to find information.
for sure.
Did you consult data sheets?
Yes.
Use online forums? Reach out to colleagues?
Yes, demonstrating your ability to leverage available resources shows initiative and a willingness to go the extra mile.
And don't forget to highlight your communication skills.
Yes.
Being able to clearly explain the problem and your solution to both technical and non-technical audiences is crucial.
That's a great point. Effective communication is essential in any engineering role, especially when collaborating with cross-functional teams.
Speaking of collaboration,
Yes.
question 6 is all about that.
Okay.
How do you collaborate with cross-functional teams, such as software engineers and product managers in hardware design and development?
Okay.
Teamwork makes the dream work right.
Absolutely.
You're not doing this in isolation.
Hardware doesn't exist in isolation.
Right.
You need to be able to work effectively with others to bring a product to life.
So what are some key things to highlight when answering this question?
Communication is key.
Okay.
Be prepared to discuss how you clearly communicate your ideas, actively listen to others' perspectives, and find common ground when there are disagreements.
So being able to work through those differences and come to a solution that everyone can agree on.
Right.
It's also important to show that you understand the different roles and responsibilities within a development team and how they all contribute to the overall project goals.
Right. And be sure to give specific examples of successful collaborations from your past experience.
Okay.
What were the challenges and how did you overcome them?
Right.
What were the key factors that contributed to the team's success?
Thinking back to those collaborations, have you ever had to bridge the gap between the hardware and software worlds?
Yes.
I imagine that could be torn with some time.
Oh, definitely. I've been in situations where there were misunderstandings or misaligned expectations between the hardware and software teams.
Yeah.
In those cases, I found that
Yeah.
it's really important to establish clear communication channels and make sure everyone is on the same page from the start.
That makes sense. So you're talking about regular meetings and clear documentation and all that.
Exactly. And sometimes it even helps to create a shared glossary of terms to avoid any confusion or misinterpretations.
Oh, that's a good tip. I like that. Okay, we're on a roll here.
Okay.
Let's move on to question 7.
Okay.
Describe your experience with designing for manufacturability and testability.
Okay.
This one sounds like it requires a blend of creativity and practicality
Absolutely.
because you have to come up with something that's innovative,
Yeah.
but also something that can actually be built and tested.
It's about designing hardware that not only meets the functional requirements, but is also cost-effective to manufacture and easy to test.
So it's about thinking ahead and anticipating potential problems down the line.
Exactly.
Like if you design something that's super complex and has all these tiny little parts,
Right.
it might be great in theory,
Yeah.
but it's going to be a nightmare to actually put together.
Have you considered using standardized components to simplify sourcing and assembly?
Okay, so that's one thing to think about.
Yeah.
What else?
Have you designed your PCB layout to optimize for automated testing?
Okay, so that's another important consideration.
Yeah, these are the kinds of things that demonstrate a deeper understanding of the entire product lifecycle.
It sounds like a good answer to this question would involve examples of how you've incorporated manufacturability and testability considerations into your designs.
Precisely.
Like maybe a time when you had to simplify a design
Yes.
to make it easier to manufacture.
Right.
Or a time when you designed a test fixture that made it really easy to test the functionality of a particular component.
And it's also a good opportunity to showcase your knowledge of manufacturing processes and your ability to collaborate with production engineers.
I imagine there have been times when you've had to go back to the drawing board and make changes to a design to make it easier to manufacture or test. Can you share an example of that?
Sure. One project that comes to mind involved a complex sensor array that we were developing.
Okay.
Initially, we had designed it with a lot of custom components and intricate wiring.
Sounds complicated.
It was.
Yeah.
But when we started working with the manufacturing team,
Yeah,
we realized that it would be extremely difficult and expensive to produce.
I bet.
So we went back to the drawing board and redesigned it using more standardized components and a simpler layout.
So you had to compromise a little bit on the complexity of the design.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you ended up with a product that was more practical to manufacture.
Exactly. And it actually ended up being more reliable, too, because we were using components that were more readily available and had been more thoroughly tested.
That's a great example of how sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to question 8.
Okay.
This one is all about security and privacy.
All right.
How do you ensure the security and privacy of computer hardware products?
Okay.
This seems more relevant than ever these days with all the data breaches and hacking incidents we hear about.
It really is. With the rise of connected devices and the Internet of Things, security is paramount.
Right, because every device is a potential entry point for hackers.
Exactly.
So you really have to think about security from the ground up.
Employers want to know that you're thinking about these issues from the very beginning.
So what are some key things to highlight when answering this question?
Well, first and foremost, you need to demonstrate your awareness of potential security threats and vulnerabilities.
Okay, so you have to know what you're up against.
Yes, you need to be familiar with the different types of attacks that hackers might use and the potential weaknesses that they might exploit.
Okay, and then you have to design your hardware in a way that mitigates those threats.
Talk about best practices for secure hardware design, such as using encryption-secure boot processes and tamper detection mechanisms.
So those are some specific things you can mention.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's not just about the technical aspects.
Right. You also need to show that you understand the importance of data privacy and compliance with regulations like GDPR and CCPA.
Right, because you have to protect user data,
Exactly.
make sure that you're handling it responsibly.
Yes, it's a combination of technical expertise and ethical considerations.
It sounds like a strong answer to this question would involve specific examples of how you've integrated security and privacy considerations into your past projects.
Exactly. Have you ever designed a system with hardware-based security features
Okay, so that would be a good example to share.
or implemented secure communication protocols?
All right, so those are some things to think about.
Those kinds of experiences would definitely impress a hiring manager.
Okay, let's move on to question 9.
Okay.
This one is all about compliance.
Okay.
How do you ensure compliance with regulatory and safety standards in hardware design and development?
Right.
This sounds like it could be a minefield if you're not careful, because there are so many different regulations and standards to keep track of.
You're right. Compliance is a critical aspect of hardware development.
Okay.
And this question is all about demonstrating your understanding of the relevant regulations and your commitment to adhering to them.
So being familiar with industry standards like CE, FCC, or UL would be essential, right?
Absolutely. Mention any specific certifications you hold or examples of how you've integrated compliance testing into your design and development process.
So you really need to show them that you're on top of all the latest requirements.
Yes.
Have you ever had to redesign a product to meet specific safety or electromagnetic compatibility
Oh,
requirements?
yeah, all the time.
That would be a great way to showcase your knowledge of compliance standards and your ability to find practical solutions.
I have actually, during a project involving a high-power wireless transmitter,
Okay.
we had to carefully design the shielding and filtering components to ensure it met the stringent electromagnetic emission standard.
Oh, wow. That sounds challenging.
It was, but we were able to meet the requirements and get the product certified.
Awesome. So you not only met the technical requirements,
Yeah.
but you also navigated the regulatory hurdles.
Right.
That's impressive.
Hmm.
Okay. We're almost there.
Right.
Last but not least, question 10.
Okay.
Describe your experience with project management in hardware design and development.
Okay.
This one's all about your leadership and organizational skills.
Indeed, even if you're not in a formal project management role, demonstrating your ability to plan, organize, and execute projects effectively is highly valuable.
Because hardware development projects can be pretty complex,
Yes.
with lots of moving parts and different teams involved.
This question is about showcasing your ability to work independently, meet deadlines, and contribute to successful project outcomes.
So being able to describe your approach to project planning, your ability to manage multiple tasks, and your communication skills would be key, right?
Absolutely. Mention any specific project management methodologies you're familiar with, that's it's agile or waterfall,
Oh, wait.
and provide examples of how you've used them to successfully manage hardware development projects.
So you want to show them that you have a structured approach to project management
Right.
and that you can get things done.
Yes.
Have you ever had to overcome unexpected challenges or setbacks during a project?
Many times.
How did you adapt and ensure the project stayed on track?
Of course, one project that comes to mind involved developing a new type of graphics processing unit.
Okay.
We faced a major setback when a key component supplier suddenly went out of business.
Oh, no, that's a disaster.
It was a scramble, but we quickly identified alternative suppliers, redesigned portions of the circuit board to accommodate the new components, and adjusted the project timeline accordingly.
That's a fantastic example of adaptability and problem solving under pressure.
And it highlights the importance of having contingency plans and being able to think on your feet when unexpected challenges arise.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from dissecting those 10 crucial interview questions to exploring how RoleCatcher can help you prepare.
Remember, preparation is key. Use these insights to practice your answers, highlight your skills, and most importantly, show your passion for hardware engineering.
That's right. Go into that interview confident, curious, and ready to impress. Good luck, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.